Ladies and gentlemen, today I've got Nika Futterman. Hopefully I pronounced that right. I just stumbled just a little bit. There are so many credits on your IMDb, your Wikipedia, everything. So obviously we'll talk about a few of them. We couldn't get to all of them, but I just want to start off. I found your name when I was watching My Gym Partner is a Monkey with my son. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, I got to look this person up. This name is, I got to figure this out. And then here we are. And like I said, looking over at all of your stuff, it is daunting, your credits. How the hell did you get into voice acting?
Well, let's see. So when I was, oh gosh, I was gonna say how old I was, but except that I can't even remember how old I was. I can just say that it was like early. I was in my, mid 20s, early to mid 20s. I was doing regular acting, and my manager at the time said you should do voiceover. So, but I thought the trajectory of my life was going to be like, I wanted to do like Saturday Night Live. I wanted to do like, I thought I was going to do like, you know, that kind of thing, Mad TV, I just thought that was going to be the direction of my life. I didn't even know that voiceover existed.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing I did know was that I didn't have any desire to be famous or have people know me. That always made me really uncomfortable. So when my manager at the time said, voiceover, I was like, I don't even really know what that is. What does that mean? She's like, like cartoons and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I was a kid, I didn't grow up watching television. We weren't even allowed to watch television. I had to read these things called books.
Yeah, I've got a few of them back there. I'm a huge Stephen King fan, and I'm a huge cartoon and comic book fan.
There's a huge Stephen King fan. Yeah. So anyway, so like I didn't even really know. I was like, oh wow, people make a living doing that, and she's like, yeah. And I was like, well, that sounds cool, because I was doing that anyway with kind of like imitating people and voices and everything. And I said, like, that sounds really fun. Well, that week, she's like, well, I have this audition lined up for you. It's for this show called Hey Arnold.
Oh, fantastic.
And I was like, okay. Of course, I had no idea, what Hey Arnold was. And like, I didn't know any cartoons. So, I mean, I kind of knew like the old, like cartoons from when I was a kid, but like, I didn't even know them that much, So anyway, so I go for this audition and I get the part. And I was like, wow, that's cool. And I started to get parts. And all of a sudden I was like, something was like, whoa, this feels like my destiny. Like, this is what I love, because nobody sees me, which I love. I can totally be a whack job. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what I look like, what I'm wearing, what any of that stuff. And I just started to like really fall in love with it. Not only that, I loved all the people that I was working with, because the thing about voiceover people is there isn't this like, Hollywood thing. I mean, it's become more Hollywood now, but when I was starting out, it wasn't. It was just a bunch of geeksters hanging out and having a good time, and I love that. And I just felt like this feels like home. So, I just started to book a lot of stuff, and then little by little, at the same time, I was like still doing television on camera stuff, and I was trying to become a rock star. I was doing all these things, so I was like trying to do all those things, but little by little, I just decided to quit everything, which was kind of fun, because I never got to have a really bad experience with my on-camera career. I got to kind of quit when I was still working. So I felt like, okay, good. That was like a fun part of my life, which was sort of strange to give up, because my whole life I had been like, this is going to be my life. And, I worked really hard to like, try to do television and movies and all that kind of stuff. But I found this other thing that I fell more in love with, and fit it and suited my, who I am. And now, whatever it's been, 25 years later, 26 years later, something like that.
The rest is kind of like history, right? So I mean,
rest is history, man. Yeah.
Did you know, because Hey Arnold, I mean, one of my favorite shows. I got little football head right here in the banana suit, and then I got to have Gerald. It's from their little from their little scene when they were doing the whole play and singing and all that. I love that cartoon. Hits me so hard in the feels every time I watch it. I mean,
Oh,
Arnold
it's
had
such
the
a good
coolest bedroom. They always had the coolest music playing on. Like the soundtrack is almost as memorable as anything that I watched on that show alone. You know.
Well, it was it's one of the really truly like a cartoon that like really cares. Like it's really like Craig, the creator, you know, he really cared about what he was putting out there and was so passionate about it. And everyone who worked on that show was so passionate. The scripts were amazing, the characters were amazing. It was so heartfelt and but good and funny and always, but like it didn't treat kids like kids, you know what I mean? It just was like
Talk
one
to
of
them like people.
yeah, like one of a kind, beautiful. And then, you know, I got to, you know, be part of it in this small way, but you know, being part of that, you know, the Pataki family. It's like there's such a funny family, you know,
Yeah.
and like you know, it's just it was a great beginning to my career.
Did
And
anybody hit you? And this might be deep cuts, and I was never a Brady Bunch fan, or not fan. I'm sorry. I'd never watched Brady Bunch. It just wasn't a show for me. Did
yeah.
anybody ever hit you with the Marsha, but Olga?
No,
Jesus Christ, man, what the hell is going on? In 25 years, nobody's done that?
nobody.
Bullshit.
It is total bullshit.
I'm writing this down, and I'm gonna have to
Write it
send
down and put it out there in the world. And
I'm gonna have to send an email to Craig. If anybody should have got it, it should have been Craig.
yeah, what the hell?
But you know, so like I said, just looking over all of your stuff, it is baffling for one. I mean, it's just like going back and just looking at some of the stuff from American Dads, and some of them were they have additional voices, so I can't really pick out which character you are. But listening to you talk in your normal voice or your regular voice, as some of you guys like to call it,
I don't
or
know
your
what that.
voice.
I don't know what that is.
No.
Sometimes people say that they're like, "So what is your regular voice?" I was like, "I don't know." Yeah.
Well, there's some parts in there because I can pull Olga out of some of them. Like I was like, that's Olga, and then I can always like, oh, that's Adam, or that's such and such, you know.
Right.
But it's always fun because there's whenever I talk, like, you know who Rob Paulson is?
Of course.
I mean, yeah, I don't even know why I asked that. Everybody should know. I mean, he's a national treasure, really. But I didn't expect his actual voice, as weird as that sounds, to sound like Rob Paulson. I know,
right?
I'm just sitting there talking like, dude.
And actually, his regular voice is kind of interesting in its way. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like there's something about it that's like very, very distinct.
Well, what you guys can do, what you got, like for the longest time, I did not know until I started getting on the thing called Google. I did not know that female actresses played male characters. I was baffled. And then Bart.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like I just never thought. Because my voice is super annoying, and you could tell I'm probably a guy. So, but trying to make me sound like a girl, I just couldn't do it. Even if I wanted to try, I just couldn't do it.
Well, and I think what happened, why chickadees end up playing young boys is because you know women's voices don't change like guys change, right? So like you have certain shows where they used a lot of kid voices, like Hey Arnold, and other like you know. There are plenty of examples of that, but you know, there are certain creators that actually just always like to use kids for kids' voices and blah blah blah. But if you it's really hard for a guy whose voice has changed to play a young kid, which is why there were so many Arnolds, you know, and why like in Loud House there have been already so many Lincolns, you know, because but it's like I can totally do a real boy sounding boy, but it's still never gonna be as real sounding as a real boy. You know what I mean?
I mean, I guess so, but it's crazy that what hurts your voice? I mean, does doing a kid or doing a boy, is it different? I guess it's different muscles, but I mean, is it a different process than just doing a female or?
No, it doesn't. I mean, I guess I don't have to strain to do it, so it doesn't hurt my voice. I think the only thing that most voiceover people complain about in terms of that is after you've done like a 4-hour video game session, you know.
Screaming and everything like that.
Motherfucker! You know. But besides that, or like sometimes I guess if I've done like 4 hours of like a creature voice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's mostly, I would say, video games. I can't even remember ever being in a regular like show session for a you know, regular TV show that it hurt my voice. And I just think that like no matter, I mean, the older I get, obviously, you don't have the same kind of, I think, stamina that I did when I was younger. I mean, I hate to say that. I mean, but I just realized that it does take a lot of stamina to speak for 4 hours. And then if you have 2 sessions a day of that kind of that's 8 hours of talking, nobody, like, I don't think any human is meant to speak for 8 hours a day.
Do you appreciate silence after those days? Not so much just from you, but just
I've always appreciated silence. Like, I'm somebody who, like, I love silence. I also grew up in a household with 3 brothers. I've always been around a lot of people or lived with a lot of people or whatever. So to me, it's funny. I actually often think about that a lot when I'm driving in my car. I often, instead of putting on music, even though I love music and I'm obsessed with like podcasts and things like that, that sometimes I just have silence because it's the only time in my life where I have it. So I really do appreciate silence. But I also love humans, and I love voice, and I love how people sound, and I love imitating people, and I can't help it, you know?
Do you see yourself, I can't remember who I talked about with it, but I noticed that whenever I go to work at someplace new or I meet somebody new, there's always that stage where you start picking up on somebody's mannerisms. So the way they hold their eye, or the way they scratch, or the way they throw their hands up whenever they throw some kind of exclamation out there, or whatever you want to call it.
Right. Exclamant. I like that though. Exclamant.
I was going to say.
It sounds like a mix between an exclamation and an excrement.
Yeah, I mean,
right? When you're pissed off, you excrement. You shit and say something.
Yeah, it's something super punk rock about it, right?
Yeah. That's gonna be the name of my new band. I love that. Thank you for that.
Oh, no problem.
Excrement. Live in Los Angeles. Excrement.
I mean, that's for sure a t-shirt. If you had to put a t-shirt with that word, what would it look like?
It would be like some like great you know, font of like exclamation, and then at the end it would have like an exclamation point and a piece of steaming poop at like for the
I'm glad you went there, because that's all I thought of. I was like, the exclamation point, but it has to be the dot, has to be a pile of shit.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Get on that, okay?
I'm already drawing it. So I'll show you my little notepad. I always write down stuff. So my wife's boss, let me put it back in here. It says Folk Scribbles, and it's got Snoop Dogg on here. So my wife's boss sent me this because I was like, oh, this is the coolest notepad I've ever had or I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And I order one, and then I had one show up on my desk or on my mailbox. And I was, for 2 days, 3 days straight, I tried to figure out who sent it to me, because I'll just get random shit sent to me.
Yeah.
Who sent it to me? No. You know, and then my wife was like, nah, it was Dana. She did it. Yeah, but it's a fantastic little. She sent me a bag of gummy dicks one time. They're like gummy bears shaped like dicks. So, like I'm
gummy dicks. That's awesome. I'm gonna send everybody I know gummy dicks for, especially all my business, gummy dicks for Christmas.
Well, you could also throw them out at the rock show for the what was it? The exclamation?
No, but we need to have there's gonna be gummy shit. You can't. Is it gummy dicks wouldn't work? It's excellent.
I really hope it's gummy shit, and it's just not somebody picking up dog shit.
We are gonna, like, look at this. We have business plan. We're like, this is so awesome.
We're gonna sit here and mind. You're a fucking fascinating person. You're probably the most high energy person I've had on here, and it's fucking refreshing because I just have to pull teeth to get them to talk. But this has been it's very easy. I mean, I could just sit here and talk shit all day, but I mean, I like talking cartoons and talking with people that are fun and they want to talk, you know?
Okay.
Huh?
I said, you could sit here and talk excrement all day.
All day with a big exclamation point, whatever the fuck at this point. I don't even know. Got me all off track there. But nonetheless, man.
What? Okay.
Yeah, so we've already made a band. We've already got t-shirts. We're throwing gummy shit out there. Hopefully it's gummies. And this is gonna change the world. I mean, we're the next Beatles. But
Yeah,
I gotta tell you, I have no musical talent. I always wanted to hit the little ding, the little triangle.
Cowbell.
Yeah,
oh,
they
no.
gave me,
Oh no, the triangle. Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
they
the
gave me that in music class. Yeah, they gave me that in music
cowbell for a little more ballage. Though.
So, you know, I should get one of those for the podcast, you know? Whenever somebody makes a really good point, you just start ringing it. Man, I'm gonna have to write that shit down. Triangle. All right. So but before I forget though, I have a 10-year-old. We actually watched The Loud House, and I love this.
You have a 10-year-old boy or girl?
Boy. And then you're actually the first person I'm ever going to tell this. This isn't going to come out for a couple weeks, and we'll actually announce it then. But my wife is pregnant, so we don't know what we're gonna. Yeah, we don't know what we're gonna have yet. I can't wait. I'm hoping it's a little girl. When I was younger, I didn't want a little girl because I was always deployed, and I didn't want to, you know, have to come and beat up a little kid when I got back. They would forget, I wouldn't, you know. But now that I have a 10-year-old boy, he'll be 11 in January, and he does karate. He can just kick the shit out of whoever messes with her. So I really want a little girl. So
Yeah, you want a little girl.
Yeah. I don't know what it is over the last couple years, but my kid competes in sparring tournaments and all this other stuff with karate. And I saw these two little girls in the belts before him, right? So the time before him, and they were just, it was the craziest shit I've ever seen. I'm like, I don't have to have anybody protect them. I like to just throw them in karate. I mean, these kids are they're scaring me. I'm beating the shit out of everybody else. I'm like, yes, I want a girl now. So, but yeah. So I'm super excited.
Spread, man. That's a spread.
Yeah, well, I mean, my wife was never really supposed to get pregnant. You know, she almost died when she was younger. She was in a bad car accident. Put her into a coma for a little while, and then messed up all of her insides. Yeah, and then so we were never supposed to have one, let alone we have another one on the way. So, yeah. Yeah, I can't wait because I missed almost my kid's first 4 years of his life just being deployed. So it was nice to see that I get to redo that, or I get to experience that now. So it's fun. So I'm really excited, and I can't wait. But yeah, I don't know how we got on here. The kid talking because he liked the Loud House. Excuse me.
He liked Loud House.
Yes. He wanted to know because he always asks who I'm interviewing or who I'm talking to, and he always wants to ask a question. So he was like, "What was your most fun episode?" And this is quote unquote, so he needs to stay in school. What was your most fun episode recording of the Loud House?
Well, of course, it's my musical extravaganza. Mm-hmm. What was the episode called? Where I got to do you remember the episode where Luna what's the name of the episode? I'm so terrible that I should know names of episodes. Where Luna, is like given this where she wins the singing competition. Do you remember that one? And she sings all those songs, and also and is it really loud music? Maybe is that, and all the other kids sing songs really too. Yep. Yeah, really loud music. That's what it was.
Just Google it.
I think that has to be my favorite episode. It has to be, just because it was just so much fun, and also I get to, it's like so rare where I get to really have fun singing. So I sing for quite a few shows that I've done, but none of them are as fun as singing as Luna Loud, because they have these fun poppy and ballady and all kinds of fun songs that I get to sing. But that was definitely my favorite.
Is it difficult? Because a lot of guys and girls that I've talked to, they're in the voice acting world. Some do, and then some don't sing because they can't do it in whatever character's voice they're doing.
Yeah.
How difficult would you say? Does it come natural or easy for you, or is it just another skill that you kind of have to adapt and evolve and grow into? You
mean being able to sing in the character's voice? Yeah. It depends on the character, right? So with Luna, it's most of the time pretty easy, although it's not exactly my voice, so it's not always easy, but I would say with her it's the closest to being easy. But then I have to sing quite a bit for when I play this little bird Cuckoo Loca for Minnie Mouse. I played Minnie Mouse's bird in a bunch of shows, and so they sing quite a bit, and she can't really sing. And she talks like this, right? So when I'm singing, if the songs that I had to sing for her, I sang in my regular voice, they would be easy.
Yeah.
But and then also the person that writes those songs, a lot of times he gives me harmonies, and I suck singing harmonies. But for some reason, he keeps giving them to me, and I'm just like, "What are you doing, man?" But singing with her, it's almost like when I'm her as a character, I almost can't hear like the stuff as well as I could hear if I was just singing in my own voice. I know that sounds weird, but it's
Oh,
like
no, not at all.
Singing, I'm figuring out how to do this stuff in her voice, but she can't really sing. But I have to make it sort of sound good, but she doesn't sing that well, so it can't be that good.
But anyway, so it's like so I would say it depends on the character.
You get a very Joe Pesci vibe on that one right there.
Totally, that's who I thought about.
Yeah, Goodfellas. So
No, this was such a good story for it's like a Disney story with when I first auditioned for the character, right? She's this little yellow bird. She looks very Disney with a little bit like a bow, little yellow bow, and she's got her little bit her big what do you call these? Eyelashes. Yes. Hello. I haven't been drinking, I swear. I think I swear. And so she looks really cute. So I gave him 2 ideas, but in my mind I thought it would be so much fun if like she looked really cute, but then she talked like this, right? Yeah. And also with Disney characters, they always had them. They've been the same kind of like, forever. So I thought, but why don't we add a little edge to the Disney world, right? So first thing they did, they're like, we can't do that. So I went and I recorded in the cute voice that I came up with for her. And we did like a bunch of episodes of this show. This was years ago now. And then like, I don't know, 7 or 8 episodes in, they came back. They're like, you know what? Let's try the other, let's do it. So then I went and I redid those episodes again. And then they were like, no, we can't do it. Oh. And they changed their mind again. And then they said, no, we have to do it this way. Like, it's too funny. And so over the years, it's been good for like the writers and stuff, because they say it adds a new edge to kind of like that Disney pack of characters. And then there's also like I get to be the dry but funny character against the regular, character. So it's kind of it's fun it's fun that they went for it and said yes to it, and now they've kept her around for a bunch of shows, which is awesome.
I'd love to see, in a world where we're getting Marvel and Sony crossing over for movies. Yeah. I'd love to see the new Animaniacs and Mickey Mouse crossover, just so I can get the little bird go with the pigeons from Goodfellas. I think I'm gonna write this one down too.
Yeah, write it down.
Birds from a flock.
Of a feather flock together.
So shit, turtles fell down. But yeah, I got my little. I had a very surreal moment yesterday. I had probably the biggest influence on me as a kid and an adult. If you couldn't tell, I'm kind of into Ninja Turtles.
No, I had no idea.
But me neither. I mean, I got them all over my arms and all over this place, so I got to talk to Kevin Eastman last night, which is the co-creator of Ninja Turtles. So 2 things came from that. I didn't cry, which I was super worried I was going to. I'm just sitting here, ugly guy crying. And then 2, I was like, man, this guy is cool as they always say never meet your heroes, boys and girls. It's not anywhere near true. Meet your heroes. If they suck, just pick a better hero, I guess. But he was fantastic.
Oh, that's so cool.
With you, the reason I bring up this story with you, you said you never really searched for fame, or you didn't want to be known, or you didn't want to be recognized. Right. Has there been anybody in this business that you just like nerded out over, or you're like, oh my God, it's him or her?
Well, I mean, I kind of like, first of all, I didn't know, since I didn't know about the business, and I didn't know like who were the superstars in the business. I didn't know when I started out that I was actually working with like tons of like, like voiceover superstars.
Yeah.
So I know this is stupid to say, but like I like feel that way on a daily basis, but I don't because I don't nerd out with, actor people. I kind of feel like my whole life is like a nerd fest. And so like even when I started out and I was working with like, some of my first jobs were like with the best in the business, with like, Billy West and like Mark Hamill and like all the, everyone knows Mark is, Star Wars. And of course,
Joker.
as we should,
Yeah.
but Mark is a fierce voiceover dude that like is so amazing in the voiceover world.
Mhm.
And I was working with him when I was young, when in my first jobs, we did like Woody Woodpecker together and stuff. And like, I was so in awe of how amazing these guys were, that it just was kind of like what I existed in. And so I geeked out in how incredibly talented they were, but I guess not in the same way that I know this sounds super crazy, but I'm more that way in my poker life, right? Because I play poker and now I've been playing probably now for like 17 years or something. That's where I geek out when I go and I play because poker is different than other things where you can go and you're playing with it. All you have to do is buy in and you're playing with the best in the world. Yeah. Right. So I'm like sitting next to like the best players in the world and I'm like, and so that kind of thing, that's when I geek out. I know it sounds crazy, but with voiceover people, and like people that are just so crazy talented, like D Baker and like, like, I mean, I would say every single job I do, I'm working with, crazy talented people. I mean, like everybody on the Loud House, it's like all my sisters on the Loud House are so insanely talented, just go down the list, it's like, so I constantly am just like in awe of everybody's talent. That was a long-winded answer.
Oh no, not at all. I like it when you guys go down, rabbit holes or long-winded answers. I like seeing that because it's just there. It always spawns off a couple different questions at this point. One,
I just want to say one more thing to that, to just not interrupt you, but because like, don't you find that in a way you end up geeking out more in the things that like you're personally not in? You know what I mean? Like for me, voiceover, obviously, like I said, I'm so in awe of everybody that I work with that are so talented. But then when it comes to like meeting an author of a book I've written, because I wish I could write, and all the things I wish I could do, like be the best poker player in the world or like that kind of stuff. That's when you super duper geek out, right? So blah, blah, blah. I mean, in a way.
I guess it really depends because I've always been fascinated. I get told I talk too much, and then my wife actually came up. My wife actually came up with a name for this because when I started doing podcasts, and I've only been doing it for what's today, fucking November something, I don't know, 9th. I've only really been doing this for roughly 2 months, give or take. Yeah, and when I set out to do this shit, it was just because I had such a fascination with these Ninja Turtle guys, right? I loved that first movie. That movie was.
Can I tell you my story with Ninja Turtles? You know my story with Ninja Turtles?
Go for it. I'd love to hear it.
I don't know what movie, where it was in the realm of things that I was involved in, but you would get to know it by the thank you I got. That's all I am in the credits is I get a thank you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, with this particular, which was I guess the one that Sarah Michelle Gellar ended up playing, what's her face? The lead character. Do you know which movie I'm talking about? When
not April.
When she played April, the animated version.
Oh, the 2007 animated movie.
Okay, so check it. That movie, I spent 2 years of my life playing April and the bad ninja chick. What's her name again?
Oh, Karai?
Yes, I played both of them for all the scratch tracks for that movie. Both characters, right? They hired what they do to animate the movie.
Oh, okay.
I scratched both characters, right?
Yeah.
Initially, they were just going to keep me for both characters. But then, of course, they needed to find superstars. So I literally spent years of my life scratching the animation for that movie. And then 2 weeks before it came out, I think it was 2 weeks. It was no more than a month before it came out. They replaced me with Sarah and I forgot who played Karai in that one. You know,
Oh.
that high actress from Hong Kong or somewhere. But but listen, I knew at some point they were going to have to do that, because also Weinstein, that lovely man, came and we have to get, names on this. And so, but I spent quite a few years like in the Ninja Turtle world, having fun playing both of those chicks.
It's crazy that not only would they replace somebody, but like I don't know, I would take it personal, because there's a few things that went into just anything in my life. I always, whenever somebody says, one, I can't do something, or two, they tell me I'm just not good at something, I write that down. I generally write down the day, the time, who it was, and I circle it. That way, when I come back, whether it's a week, 10 days, whatever it is, however long it takes me to master something that they said I wasn't good at, I'm going to hold up this piece of paper and say, hey, fuckhead, remember this? I did. And in a sense, it's probably not good, but in another sense, it's great, because it gives you a passion, it gives you a drive, it gives you a reason to be better, not only to show them, but you're showing yourself in the end.
They in and I 100% agree with you on that. I just think, in this world that I'm in, that kind of shit happens all the time.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was just like, all right, they paid me, whatever. I knew it was going to happen. I was pretty sure it was going to happen. I was actually surprised that they kept me on as long as they did. But, it happens all the time. I mean, I have lots of other stories where, you'd be surprised that, like right before the end of a movie coming out or whatever, they had to get a name person, because the movie they thought was going to tank, and they thought that would help it. I won't mention some of those names. There is a Star film in there, but
Billy West mentioned quite a few of them.
Yeah. And you would think with Billy, I mean, there's Billy, who's a fucking icon, you know what I mean? And
Royalty is what I called him. Him and Rob were two of the names I sought out when I wanted to do this podcast.
Besides being some of the nicest dudes in the world, right?
And then not only were they gracious with their time, and they were fantastic guests. My face has never hurt more than talking to those two guys. Laughing with Rob, I didn't do it through Zoom. He wanted to do it through the phone, which I'm glad, but I'm glad I got to talk to him, because my eyes watered up multiple times, just sitting there, and I could close my eyes and then just transported back to not so much a happier time, but like a time where I just didn't have bills. I didn't have, stress the way I thought I had stress. And then for just something like a voice that you hear, and like I said, you just transport. It's like whenever your mom or your dad, whoever cooked for you when you're younger, you smell, like me, my granny's chicken and dumplings. That dish and her fried chicken are the two dishes. And because I cook for a living. So those are the two dishes.
Oh, you do?
Yes. I'm pretty good at it. I don't like to toot my own horn. That's a lie. I like to toot my own horn when it comes to food.
How about your chicken and dumplings, though?
What's that?
Are you good at chicken and dumplings?
One, if I wasn't, my granny would come back to life and choke the life out of me. And two, those two dishes hold such a special place in my heart that I make sure that when I do those two dishes, it has the utmost respect, the utmost attention. It's not like I take more attention or more, patience or anything with those two dishes, but those two dishes mean so much to me, that if I do anything less than perfect in my eyes, I'll throw the whole dish away. And I've done it multiple times where I've finished the dish. And this is bad, especially in this day and age where we're wasting food. But if I wouldn't serve it to my granny, or if I wouldn't serve it to my mom, or I wouldn't serve it to my wife, it's something that I can't take ownership of. I'm just like, fuck it. I'll do it over and I'll make it right this time. But it's just crazy what you guys do. A lot of you guys just say it's just talking, or it's just me doing something. It's me reading, right? It's crazy what you guys do transports people to a whole new either time, headspace, what have you. I mean, when you sit there and think about what you do for a living, what goes through your head when you like, shit, man, this guy's talking to me about Olga and Adam and all these other people. What's going through your head though? Just coming from a guy like me.
When I'm doing it, or like when I'm thinking about the fact that I get to do it.
I guess both.
I think I fucking hit the lottery. Yeah, that goes through my head on a daily basis. Hashtag gratitude.
Hashtag blessed.
Hashtag blessed, motherfuckers. Yeah, no, I think about it every second, how lucky I am. And I never, ever, ever stop feeling gratitude. That's, I think, all the time. When I'm doing my work, no, I can't explain it, but I would say that it's probably like lots of other people who are creating whatever they create. It's like, I'm not a religious person, I would say, but I'm pretty spiritual, so I feel like something from some other place, and it's like it just comes through you know what I mean? Yeah. And if it's a character that you're meant to be, like I'll audition for things and I'm like, you know what, that sucked, and I'll either say to my agent or whatever, I'm like, you know what, I'm not even going to submit that because there's going to be someone out there who will crush that.
Yeah,
it's not me. But there are times that like I read for something and I'm just like, holy shit, I have to do this. And then, and when that dream comes true and I'm doing it, it's just like, I'm in it. It's just like, I am that person. I auditioned for this role the other day. Can't say what it is right now because I haven't gotten it and who knows if I will. But I'm just telling you, it's been a really long time since I read for something that I was just like, I fucking have to get this thing. It is the funniest, and it's an adult cartoon. So it's like edgy and, good shit, like good shit. And I got called back for it. And I was like, yes, they felt the same way that I did. I felt it, And so now I'm waiting to find out. Maybe next time we'll talk, I'll tell you what it is if I get it. Obviously, I can tell you if I didn't get it either. But hopefully I hear something like this week and they're like, you got it. But those kind of things, it's like, so when I'm auditioning for them or I'm actually have gotten it and I'm doing it, it's just like I'm in it and I'm not thinking about anything except that I'm this character.
Yeah.
Like you're not thinking. I mean, I would think it's the same thing like when you're cooking, it's like you feel it, right? Like people are like, well, like measuring things of how much you put into a recipe. You don't fucking do that anymore. You feel it.
It's soul.
It's soul.
Yeah.
And you feel that. And you don't have to think about it, where I would have to go and like read the recipe. Okay, that's half a cup. It's like you don't have to do it. It's the same thing with me with voiceover. It's like you're saying, oh, it's so difficult. Like, how do you guys do that? Same thing. Everybody has, I truly believe this, and I always wish it for everybody in the world.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, not everybody finds it in their lifetime, or they get too scared to seek it out.
Yeah.
Right? It sounds to me like you grew up, and just hearing how you talk and how you're the kind of man that like is even willing to say like, I was going to cry or whatever. Yeah. Like tons of dudes who are, obviously you were raised in a place where you knew love and you seeked out. And so that you have a, that you were given permission to like be and do and be who you are and seek out your passions.
Yeah. And
sadly, not everybody gets that, and but everybody has it. Everybody's got everybody's got a gift. Everybody's got a gift, and doesn't matter who you are. You just get, and then some people, have just like crazy fucked up lives or become serial killers, but then they make crazy art when they're in prison.
And some of them run the country, or some of them act in movies. So like
some of them won't be running the country anymore. But wait, we're talking politics. Oh, but I could go on and on, but we won't do that because you know what? I believe, like our president-elect says, that we must have compassion for everybody, and everybody has a voice, and I respect everybody's opinion. But sayonara, motherfucker. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know too much about politics. So
Yeah, and you know what? I don't even say we don't even need to talk politics.
no,
What I'm saying is this: I will talk this, and the bottom line with everything is love.
yeah, hands down, man. There's
Find a way. Let's find a way for all of us, everybody on the planet. One people, one planet. That's it, baby.
yeah. I mean, there's plenty of. I've always said it, man. There's plenty of room at the table for everybody, man. You just got to slide down. Everybody's got to scoot in. You know,
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
This world is so crazy. I mean, I wish that it's probably not that it's crazy or it's any different than what it used to be. It's just so highlighted, or the negativity is so much so more highlighted than it used to be. News, social media, if it bleeds, it leads type of shit. So I'm hoping like one day we can actually, have discussions, have talks,
Yeah.
actually talk, not just sit here and yell or scream or, don't get me wrong. I'm a huge comedian, a huge fan of comedy. I love
Right.
comedians. So when shit's funny, regardless of what it is, I think it's fucking hilarious. It could be, whatever. It's if you know who Sam Kinison is, that fucker was notorious for punching down. I mean,
Yeah.
most of the time people punch up. They're, attacking the upper class, attacking this, with comedy. So there's always a sign in there for something that's lowbrow or humor, or, poop joke. I think is still funny. Like if my son farts, I think it's the funniest thing in the world. I mean, he did it. I mean, he's probably going to hate me for putting it up there because he listens to all the podcasts. I always send it to him, so I get at least one view from him dedicated because I know he'll listen to the whole thing, and then he'll have his little notepad too, and he's sitting there writing, "Dad, you should have said this," or hey, next time, say something like this. So he helps out considerably.
He's your producer.
What's that?
He's your producer. He's like sitting back. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm just getting 8 pages of notes every episode. I'm like, shit, this isn't fun anymore. But he's that type of kid that he thinks it's weird. Like I laugh at a fart joke, or if he farts walks by, or something weird like that happens. I think it's hilarious. And he was getting his purple belt 2 weeks ago, right? And he's just sitting there rocking back and forth, and he lets one out, and it's dead silent in the crowd because somebody's doing their whole thing. And he's like, oh shit. And he's like a redhead like me, so his face instantly floods red. So I'm like, you hear me in the video, I point and I laugh at him. So it's so
good. I know. It's like, and especially dudes, man, fart jokes never get old. Never.
Fart jokes, poop jokes, dick jokes, they're all fucking hilarious.
The same funny thing. It was like on Sanjay and Craig. Did you ever watch Sanjay and Craig?
My kid did, and I caught a little bit of it, but that one was still going when I was still in the Navy, so I was in and out.
Okay, yeah. So everything, I always just thought it was so funny how like there were just so many fart jokes, and I was like, yeah, this is total dude stuff, just fart joke galore.
It was a Kevin Smith style cartoon, and I absolutely loved the pieces that I saw. He'll go back and he'll watch stuff that he's already watched 100 times.
Yeah.
And then he'll read, like he watched Cobra Kai. Once it hit Netflix, he watched Cobra Kai at least from season 1 to season 2, all the way through and back over at least 5 or 6 different times. I mean, I guess I did that with cartoons myself, but I can probably quote every damn word in Cobra Kai, and it's a fantastic show. Don't get me wrong. I love the show. It is pure. It's like they pulled everybody out of the 80s. He can still call kids pussies, which is fantastic. It's nothing is PC about it. It is great because it's just like it's in a world that is so different than what the 80s movies used to be. And then you see that kind of throwback, and then nobody's sitting there telling him he's got toxic masculinity. Excuse me. I can't fucking talk to him. So it's just funny to see, like, man, this shit still works. You could still call a kid a pussy. And I mean, you'll probably get yelled at for it. I know I have. But it still works in 2020. So fantastic.
Social media's fucked everything up, man. We have to be so PC. It just sucks. And there's so many wonderful things about like things like the Me Too movement and all that. And there's more great than bad. But it's like I miss the good old days where we could just like, we always talk about this in like the voiceover world, where you could just be totally inappropriate with each other. And like, cause it's like there's a difference, people know, like when you're in comedy land, it's like, we know we can fuck with each other. And I miss that era. I hope at some point we kind of get back to that, because I think there's a way that if we raise our children to feel good about themselves, we don't have to worry about fuckheads taking advantage,
Yep.
But that's a whole other discussion. Did you see the Dave Chappelle opening for Saturday Night Live this week?
That's the only thing I watched. He's come up on the show, not like he's come on the show. I would love him. He's my favorite comedian of all time. Him and Bill Burr. I don't know if you know if you watch Bill Burr, his special on Paper Tigers was named a special. I'm so glad people like Dave Chappelle and Bill Burr and Chris Rock, those are my three all-time great, exist. He is the funniest person I have ever seen in my life.
So funny, and he's so real, and he's so fucking on point, and that was, I thought, such a genius opening. I mean, it was just because it's so fucking heart-wrenching because it's all real, but it's just like, I feel the same way he does, it's just like every fucking thing is funny, even when it's terrible.
Yeah.
And that we have to find humor in it because that is actually power,
Yeah.
But he can shift the world and how we look at it through humor in such a genius way. Anyway,
it's really the last frontier of free speech and being, everybody says you can be you, but you have to be you in this box. This is what you're going to be packaged as. This is what you're allowed to say and not allowed to say. And when you sit there, and regardless of whatever you do for a living, everybody says food is the arts. Everybody says acting and voice acting is the arts. Right. It is in a sense because you're making art. But at the end of the day, you didn't come out. I mean, maybe you did. I know I didn't with food. I didn't come out knowing how to grab that much salt, throw it into a pot, and, man, that's seasoned correctly. I'm sure you had a lot of bumps and stuff along the way. It's really a craft. And when you've got somebody like Dave Chappelle or Chris Rock or Bill Burr, insert favorite comedian here, they're the last people that are at the top of their craft. And they can take an entire room and he can talk about George Floyd. He can talk about the Me Too movement. He can talk about that piece of shit Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby and all these people. And he can tell you how bad it is. But at the end of the day, he can take a super negative, make you laugh and make you think. That's probably the craziest thing is that's what comedy is. That's what stuff is good is. It makes you think. It's not just ha ha ha, next joke, ha ha ha, he's talking about a kid in a wheelchair, or he's talking about this, or he's talking about this. He's making you, it's thought-provoking. And it's fascinating that in 2020 that we can still have a person like Dave Chappelle, I love you is what I'm saying. I love you, Dave. Yeah, I mean, like I said, he was the first sketch show I ever watched. Well, that's not true. In Living Color was way before Mad TV or SNL. But it's just, he's a fucking national treasure is essentially what I'm getting at. We need more people like him to really speak and really progress where we're at.
That kind of stuff. And social media sucks. I hate it. I hate it. I hate the pressure it puts on young people. I hate the pressure it puts on everybody. Yeah. That's why I just really don't do it. I suck at it. I mean, I feel so bad for all the people who are so lovely in how they express their love of what I do. I feel bad because, I'm just hardly ever on social media. And I feel bad because, I should be communicating more with those who have showed me love, but it's nothing personal. I feel like once I fall down that hole, and I'm constantly getting the pressure that I need to fall down that hole, but then I feel like I have to present my life or make my life, or show my life in a certain way, or, and I just feel like when you're doing the real deal of life, living your life, which I'm not saying people who do social media, I'm not, there's no judgment here. I'm just saying for me, it's kind of like, living your life or taking pictures the whole time you're experiencing it. It's just like, you can't go and live something if every moment you're living, you're capturing it, in video and I feel so bad because I have a young kid too. I have a 11-year-old daughter, and it's just like, I see what it is. It's just like constant, like you have to, or this feeling that you have to be relevant or you have to, and, people like Dave Chappelle, like just a perfect example of just like, he just is. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Living in the moment.
he's living in the moment, and he gets it, and that's when you find your real, anyway.
It's when you find that's 100%. That's when you find you. And I mean, you brought up something cool because, like I said, I'm a huge Ninja Turtle fan, so don't hold this against me. It's a sickening thing, essentially. Holding up your phone, right, to record something. I can't remember who said it because I pretty much quit listening to music, essentially the stuff that I grew up on, and then from time to time I'll stick my head back in the water and try something new. I'm just stuck in the 90s with that grunge era, the hip hop era, the R&B. It's just it's like cartoons. That renaissance for music was really that late 80s to probably mid 2000s, especially with cartoons and music, at least for me.
Yeah.
And I was listening to a podcast, and it might have been Chris Jericho's podcast because I'm a wrestling fan too. You always get looked at weird, like, oh man, you sit here and watch, you're 31 years old, you watch wrestling. I'm like, it's no different than going to a movie or watching a cartoon. They're putting on a show.
My father-in-law is 92 and he's a wrestling fan. So.
Oh, fantastic. Tell him I'm proud of him. Keep it going, because we need more 90-year-olds watching wrestling.
Yeah, it's the craziest thing you've ever seen. Like that's all he watches is wrestling. But anyway, another conversation.
Oh no, it's perfectly. Like I said, I like
one, not so bad.
Yeah, I mean, you could be watching worse shit. I mean, it's just fun. It's entertaining. I just sit there and just veg out. I smoke a joint and just like, man, this is what we're doing now. Yep, he got slammed. I hope it didn't hurt his head, but and I think, like I said, the thing was Chris Jericho, and he was sitting. He's like, it's amazing when you're at a show and then all you see is this, and everybody front row watching the show through this.
Yeah.
Instead of just going, and I catch myself doing it, and now I don't record anything on my phone unless it's my kid. Whenever he does something with karate, because I want him to be able to see it. Because my mom was around, but my dad wasn't around. He's since came back into my life. So we're trying to do the whole, reconciliation thing, or trying to get used, I guess, to, he's a dad. He's not just a sperm donor anymore. He didn't just come in my mom and leave, that type of thing. So it's very weird getting over, somebody's just. For my whole life, I was sitting there thinking, like, why didn't they, and I'm not going to get sappy or anything, but why didn't he want me, like that type of thing. So trying to get over that hurdle, is weird. And then like I said, I catch myself doing it. So unless I'm recording my kid, because I want him to have, something with him in karate. I didn't have anybody recording me doing basketball, mainly because we didn't have phones back then.
Right.
But I would love to see myself, what I looked like back then, because I knew I had some swagger. It wasn't like getting girl swagger. It was swagger on the court, because I was a chunkier guy, so I had some swag, right? So I knew I was a character, if anything else. So I would love to see that. But that's the main reason I do it for him. And plus, with him sparring, he wants to get better. He's just like me. How can I make this dish better? What did you like and what didn't you like about my dish that I made? He's the same way with karate. He was like, what did you see that I didn't see? Or what do you think I could have done better? So it's improvement, right?
I love that.
I like that. It's fantastic, especially in today's day and age where everybody is coddled, or everybody is like, you get a trophy even if you lose.
Right.
Where it's good to an extent, but I do think it kind of retards growth, if that makes sense. It doesn't let the kids be as good as they possibly can be. When they just know that all I gotta do is just show up, and it is what it is, right? So it's refreshing to see that in a 10-year-old.
It's amazing, but obviously you've been an example for him. I mean, that's the beautiful thing. It's like that's it, because nobody gives us a book on like, how do you be a perfect parent? Like, it's impossible, right? So all you can do is be an example of that. So he sees that. And it's beautiful. I mean, again, it's like, this is this like whole other conversation for the parenting podcast that you're doing.
Oh man, I'd be fucking crucified. I mean, I'm sure, like you,
Me too.
We've made some mistakes, and there's things that keep me up that I wish I would have done better, or handled better, or not said that way, explained it more. But like you said, there's no book on this shit. And all those books that they do have you read, it's what to expect when you're expecting. Horseshit book. I don't understand how. I want as many people that buys that bullshit book every year when they have a kid to watch this podcast. Because I'll tell you some shit about parenting that's not in that book. And it's the same thing. Like when we're talking social media earlier, I want just as many views as chicks with asses and big tits get on Instagram. I want to be a podcasting thought, if you will.
Yes.
I wanted to get out there, but it's just
Hallelujah.
it's just crazy what you can have a little kid, right? And then it's like, all right, man, good luck. Don't fuck them up. I'm sitting there, and I've never held a baby before I held my son. I held my son, and I'm sitting there, and I've got him, and I know I'm not holding him right. So I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I wouldn't cut the umbilical cord because I didn't want to vomit and I didn't want to pass out. My wife and kid, they can watch all these vet shows and all these plastic surgery. I can't do it. It makes my stomach upset.
I can't either. And my husband's always trying to get me to watch the shows, like where they're like popping a boil or, or like,
Dr.
and my daughter loves that shit. No. And I'm like, oh my God, no, I don't want to see that. My husband did cut the umbilical cord. I was surprised. I was like, but no, that shit. He also watched me get sliced and diced, but that's all.
No, I couldn't do it because I just looked at my wife the entire time. I'm like, doing great, keep pushing. She was like, and I'm just like, because my hand's hurting, right? So I don't know what the fuck's going on. And then, the baby comes out. You want to cut the umbilical cord? Absolutely not. I'm going to vomit or I'm going to pass out. They're like, well, we can catch you. And I look back at the person behind me because they're like, we will always have somebody behind the husbands just in case, because it's a frequent event. Somebody passes out. And I look back and I'm 6'2". And at that time I was about 235 pounds. So I'm a big girt guy. I look behind me, nothing against the female gender. However, when you've got somebody 5'6" and weighs maybe 110 pounds, and you've got some fat fuck like me going dead weight because I just saw something come out of my wife's vagina, there's no way in hell you're catching me, is essentially what I'm getting at. And I'm going to go to jail for murder because I killed whoever was supposed to catch me. So I'm sitting there, and I'm pretty sure my wife is gonna like really have a talking to me because I'm putting this out there. But I don't give a shit. It is what it is. She knew what was happening.
It's hysterical.
I'm glad you do, because I'm gonna get slapped for it later.
Ever, because it's just like the amount of stories I hear of like my friends, watching their wives or whether it's like having a baby. And I know kids could be watching this and stuff, but kids, this is just like the real deal. Like whatever. It's all comedy. Again, it's just like when a chick has a kid and like husbands have to watch it, and what it's like the stuff that comes out of your body.
Yeah.
It's just like, in many ways, it's obviously a beautiful moment, but it's also really
terrifying. It's terrifying as fuck. I'm just sitting there, I'm holding this kid. I know I'm not holding him right. He's looking at me, he's like, don't fuck me up. And I'm looking at him like, please don't let me drop you. And then all these doctors are coming in and they're like, oh man, she's bleeding. I'm like, what? What's going on here? They're like, oh, nothing. Don't worry about that. And I'm like, no. I saw a Travis Tritt song on this one time, an old country song, and his wife died giving birth or some shit like that. Something happened because they bled a lot. No, it wasn't Travis Tritt. It was a Tim McGraw song. Saddest fucking song in the world, but it's a beautiful song. But I'm sitting there like, no. What's going on? And they're like, oh yeah, you're gonna have to go over there and you're probably gonna have to go to the room. I'm like, absolutely not. I know I'm not holding this fucker right. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm 19. I don't know what I've never held a kid before. Somebody please help me. And I was so lucky.
You're such a kid.
I didn't want to be the old parent. I didn't want to be the old parent, right? I wanted to be able to like, go out there.
You don't want to be like me.
Nah, I wouldn't even say that, because like
no, seriously, I didn't have a kid till I was 39.
Hey man, when it happens though, right?
I wasn't ready. I have a twin brother. He had kids young. I was just like, I was not ready. I'm still not ready.
But are you ever really ready when it comes to kids? I mean,
you're never ready. And I still have to remind myself that I'm a mother. I'm just like, as soon as or when my kid's like, Mom, and I'm just like,
oh, you're talking to me? Shit. It is great,
just
right?
like, and I'm always getting in trouble for, not being strict enough or doing all that kind of stuff. But that's again for the parenting podcast. But,
yeah, that's going to be part 2 of Nika. Yeah, what duh. We got to come up with, we already came up with a name for a band. We got to come up with a name for this parenting podcast too. We'll circle back.
Something like, are you fucking kidding me? No.
Or parenting shit.
Parenting shit.
Yeah.
Like, all the things they never tell you.
All the things that they refuse to tell you.
Yeah.
But
all the things they're pretending are not happening. No.
what to really expect.
No, I'm not a perfect parent, and neither are you. Okay?
Nope. I mean, there's no such thing as perfection. We can all always chase for it, but at the end of the day, it's you got to do the best you can with what you really got. And regardless of what mistakes that I make or you might make as an adult or as a parent, excuse me. I know my mom made mistakes all the time. But looking back, I'm like, man, she really tried. Like in that moment, I was like, man, she's really coming down on me, being an asshole.
Yeah.
Because I'm not getting my grades up. And then I really think about it, like, man, she just did not want me to be stupid. Man,
she wanted you to be successful.
She wanted me to
she wanted you to feel good about yourself. That's
exactly.
what I was telling my kid, and it's such a weird time during the pandemic and stuff. That's a whole other thing for our parent podcast. But
that's episode 3.
I mean, it's just like that's what it is. It's about like you want your kid to be successful and to have self-confidence and all those things. And it's hard when you're young to realize that your parents, that's what they want for you. You just think like, oh my God, they're being strict. I mean, I didn't have strict parents, but I went to boarding school, so they just shipped us off. But that's a whole other story for
that's episode 4 for the parenting podcast.
Get. Or, oh no, dos tres cuatro. Okay, anyway. Yeah.
I said it earlier. You are a fucking fascinating person, man. Regardless of if or you don't get the show to come back on and talk about the show that you can't talk about right now, I want you to get that show. And if they tell you no, tell me where I can deliver one of these right to their suck holes, and I'll make sure they give it to you. But I got to have you back on because we're getting towards. We already hit that hour. That hour went by real quick.
We hardly talked about anything. We're having to do part 2.
I don't even give a shit, man, because most of the time, that's what's so great about naming a podcast, what's in my head, because I'll just go off on these crazy tangents. Now, there is one thing I did want to ask you before you left, because I got you on here for my gym partner's a monkey. However, rolling through the Rolodex, not only did I find out.
So happy, by the way. Because that's one that a lot of people don't even know of the existence of my gym partner's a monkey.
That show was so ahead of its time.
And I got to work with Tom, who's a fucking genius. So
yeah, I mean it's fucking SpongeBob. I mean, just like SpongeBob almost got me into animating. I mean, I always wanted to draw when I was younger, and that show I was like, fuck, dude, if I could get on this. We went to Universal, long story short, but we went to Universal. I saw them before SpongeBob had got released. They had storyboards and the artists were there. And it was the coolest thing I've ever seen. And at that point in time, I was like, I'm going to draw for a living. And then I started looking at it. I'm like, man, I am not going to draw for a living. Cause it was crazy because they have those architect boards or whatever they're called, drawing boards. So they're drawing and then he's just ripping up papers and throwing them behind him. And I don't know who it was, but I was like, Jesus Christ. I was like, I keep all of my pictures and my mom puts them on the refrigerator and throwing away all of them. So I don't think I'm going to be doing this for a living. So it was crazy, but a show you worked on that I absolutely love was a regular show. This one got me back into cartooning.
Oh, geez. Regular show. And I didn't even that was just like a few things.
Yeah. So it doesn't have what you did. But the only reason I want to bring
I can't even remember that wouldn't even be fair because I'd have to even think back on the characters that I played on the regular show. That was so long ago. Like they would just, throw me bones here and there. What did I do? What were I don't even remember the characters that I did on. I knew that was such a great show.
It's fantastic. That one got me back into cartoons when I had taken such a huge break from them because everything looks so like a cookie cutter. It's like every cartoon from 2009 to whatever. And then you got this show that comes out and you're like, holy shit. And it's funny. And I'll end it with this story, but my kid is maybe 3 or 4 at the time, right? No, I'm pretty sure he's less younger than that. I can't remember, but he was still in that stage where he wasn't wearing shorts around the house. He was just either wearing his pull-ups or, a diaper or something like that. So we're sitting there, we're watching it and they would, Mordecai and Rigby, they'd throw up their hands and they go, whoa, right? My wife absolutely fucking hated it, right? She said it was the most annoying thing in the world. So it was fun because this was before he was like, dad's cool. Dad's coming home. So I'm waiting by the door. We had the front door open, the storm door's there so he could see out. So he's sitting there with a sippy cup and then I would just hit him with and I'd point to him, and he'd throw his little hand up, and he'd go, I'd hear it before I got to the sidewalk or to the driveway. He'd go, whoa! And he's like, Daddy's home. Whoa! Daddy's home. Whoa! And he would just go back and forth, and my wife's just like,
That's so
"God, I hate
awesome.
you."
That there was such an awesome era of like, what was my it's funny because I don't watch cartoons very often, but I went through a little phase when my kid was younger, so I was always seeking out really cool cartoons. But why is my brain not working now? The thing about Network that was so awesome during that time period is that, you know, they were really the first ones who started hiring kids out of art school.
Yeah.
Who just had ideas because they were like, wait, where are we going to get the geniuses? And probably where are we going to get the geniuses for cheap? But let's go and like go to the source.
Yeah.
And so they started hiring all these kids with their ideas right out of like Cal Arts.
Mhm.
And, you know, these schools had like chock full of genius young people who had ideas.
This podcast was presented by the Epic Sewers Podcast Network, the home of all your pop culture podcast needs, with shows like Epic Tales from the Sewer, the Spoiler Force Podcast, CreatorCon Q&A, Comic Watchers, and the What's in My Head podcast. Follow us on this journey and get down and nerdy as we bring you the best in pop culture.